Welcome to our Google Hangout. We are talking with Tom Asacker today. Hey, Tom.
Hi, Lou.
All right, cool. We can see you and hear you. So the way that this Google Hangouts thing works, in case you don't know, is the person that's talking is usually on the screen, unless I do some crazy stuff behind the scenes. So, and if we get folks here, we will, let's see, yeah, we have folks here. Awesome. Thank you. John, Peter, Marsha, Kevin, Keith, Josette. So thank you for being here. We are doing an interview today with my friend and colleague, speaker. I actually introduced you in the email as one of the smartest guys that I know. So you have to live up to that now.
I'll try.
And Tom, I've known Tom for a while. He's a really great speaker and author of several books, the newest of which we're going to talk about is The Business of Belief. And Tom, because a lot of my folks talk marketing, branding, it'll be great to talk with you and ask you some questions. We'll take questions from the audience if they want to type in the chat room. You know, we keep these really loose and informal and try and have a little fun with it.
Great.
And that's that. Anything you want to add on? I didn't give you sort of the official introduction, but anything else you want to add? And I do want to find out because you've done a bunch of books. This one kind of hit home with me in particular, and I want to ask first, what's different? Tell us a little bit about your other books and what's different about this one.
Sure. Let's see. The first book was really revolved around creativity and innovation. It was a little novel called Sandbox Wisdom about a CEO who's lost his way in work, and through the eyes of a little girl, by chance, he rediscovers his passion, his creativity, innovation, all of that. So that was more geared towards organizations and CEOs. And then I was out talking and teaching creativity, innovation, strategy, and I started to get confused by everything I was reading of this notion called branding, what a brand is. So I went on a deep dive and wrote a little book called A Clear Eye for Branding, which gives the essence of what a brand is so that people don't get lost in the confusion of what everyone's saying a brand and branding is all about. And then I did a couple follow-on books to that. One was called Opportunity Screams. One was called A Little Less Conversation. Anyway, I thought I had exhausted, through those books, expressing my feelings about how to communicate to audiences, how to draw them into what you do, how to make them care, how to make them talk about it, how to make them believe in it. And I was done. And then I was out speaking to a large organization that I had previously been at about a year previously, doing some strategic work. And when I left a year earlier, everyone was in agreement. They all understood everything that we needed to do in order to move forward. And I came back a little over a year later, and they were presenting some concepts, and they had done almost opposite of what we talked about the previous year. And it really puzzled me. And I asked the CEO sitting at this table with me, I said, listen, what did I do wrong a year ago when I was here if everybody's doing opposite of what we talked about? And CEO looked at me and said, look, you didn't do anything wrong. But you have to understand, when you left, everyone had to go back to their jobs. I could sense at that point that was the end of the conversation. And when the day ended, I hopped on the plane, I went home, and I sat at my desk for like a couple of days, really puzzled, trying to understand what that comment was all about. And then I finally got it, which was they didn't believe in it, in those concepts. They understood them. They had the information, and they may have temporarily thought that that's the direction they want to go. But their environment probably overwhelmed them when they got back into it, and they didn't know how to handle that. And so before you know it, they were being pulled back in a different direction, because their beliefs weren't strong enough to change how they were doing their work and how they were approaching their particular organizational environment. So I said, okay, I'm going to go try to write a book about this, try to explain what belief is, and that in fact it's belief that drives people's decisions. And we're in a whole new environment today, and belief is what people should focus on. That's a
Cool.
long
Right.
story.
No, that's good. And Josette in the chat says she saw your TEDx talk about the business of belief and wanted to ask if you could go further or deeper with the concept of the life we live is the stories we tell ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very good. Thank you for that question. So what I've discovered, and this is not just individuals, this is organizations as well. Once we have become comfortable in whatever our routines and our so-called life story is, as an entrepreneur, as a parent, as a business, we tend to grasp tightly onto that, and that conditions what we do in the future. So, for example, if I'm a company, and I'll give you a crazy example of somebody opposite of that. I mean, if you looked at Nokia, I mean, Nokia was a boot company, you know, lumber and boots, and then they were making toilet paper, you know. So how could a company that makes lumber products, boots, and toilet paper make cell phones? See, most people would be conditioned to say, we can't do cell phones. We're a boot company, right? So it's the same thing with individuals. Individuals tell themselves a story about who they are. Take creatives. Maybe a creative individual says to themselves, I write children's books, but then has this idea for this sweeping novel. Perhaps this person says to themselves, I can't write this sweeping novel. I write children's books. So that story that we tell ourselves is what either pulls us into the future or tries to keep us comfortable in the present.
Interesting. So it's like the guy that says, I can't be a public speaker. I'm an introvert.
Like, exactly. Or I'm shy, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So I reread the book last night, which is great. It was nice to get a refresher. And in the book, you say that the next big idea in business is belief. So why do you think belief is the next big thing?
Okay, because I think that our environment is now beginning to overwhelm us and conspire against this rational process of moving through it. For example, I mean, we are now, at least in North America, completely saturated with choice. Right? It's impossible to get through the grocery store and turn over bottles and read things. You can't do that anymore, right? There's 30,000 products in there. So we're inundated with choice. The information that's coming at us, including, you know, not just from traditional media, but even through social media and everything else, it is too much to handle, and it's all conflicting, right? I mean, I've read articles that say eggs are the best things since, you know, their life's little nutritional pill, and then somebody else says eggs will kill you. You know, so you read all this information and you say, what do I do with this? On top of that, everyone's walking around with a computer in their pocket, not a telephone. I mean, these things sell for $800 because they're computers. And we have instant access to information, to people. We can transmit messages to masses of people. Toss in there that the folks that grew up in the heydays of mass marketing, like me, back in the 50s. Lou, I mean, I hate to say it because I'm talking about myself, but man, we were idiots back then, right? I mean, we used to sit down and watch 3 TV channels, and every message came through those 3 channels, and we would just sit there. We wouldn't even get up to change the channel because we were too lazy. We didn't have a remote. And we'd sit there and we'd say, oh, okay, I don't like fish, but this chicken from the sea sounds like something I might like. You know, it sounds like a Jerry Seinfeld thing, but it's true. So we're not those people anymore. No one can get at us and pound messages into our head because all of these messages are coming from all kinds of different directions now. No one can control the message. And then we don't trust anybody, right? I mean, look at government. We don't trust government. We don't trust businesses. Organizations in general we don't trust. I mean, I trust you, but that's about as far as it goes, right? So what does that mean? It means that the way our brains make decisions are very, very different than they used to be back when we learned all about marketing, right? Because we learned marketing during mass marketing. So now we have to look and we have to say, okay, how do people make these decisions today? And it's basically the same way that they form beliefs. So if you understand how people form beliefs and the nature of belief, which is that the feeling mind leads the thinking mind, because the thinking mind is overwhelmed. If we understand that, then we can design things to help people make belief around what we do and improve their lives.
So, but do you think we believe what we want to believe? Like I saw a story on Facebook this morning that said that there's another study that says a glass of red wine is as good as going to the gym. So I've already had 3 glasses.
Listen, I've got something on my refrigerator door that says that a study has proven that bacon and eggs is better for you than cereal. And it's the same thing, right? So, yeah, in fact, what happens is our desires. So what we're doing is we're not out in the world trying to understand the world. That's what people think is going on. It's like we're moving through the world, and then we see some information, and we want to read it and understand it so that we can make better decisions. That is not what we do. We're moving through the world trying to figure out how to just negotiate this chaos that we go through, right? And as we're moving through, we're looking for our desires to be fulfilled, right? We want to feel good, avoid feeling bad. So we're on the lookout for stimulus that gives us those signals. And then when we see the signal that says, oh, I think I might want that, then we'll go get the information to help us support that desire that we want. And I swear to you, everyone thinks, because I think it's the brain's default setting to believe this, but we think what we do is we move through the world and we sense something, and then we start thinking about it, you know? Like we see a sign and we say, I wonder what that means. We don't do that at all. We sense something, we immediately have a feeling. I like it, it's interesting, I want to learn more about it. Then we start doing our thinking. So if we don't understand how that has reversed, we'll go out there thinking that our job is to pump information at people, when really our job is to stimulate that desire and then to move them along to belief by giving them information, by showing them other people that are using it, by connecting them with like-minded people.
Cool. Josette has another excellent question that relates to that, so I'll ask what she's asking. How would belief channel through to how we communicate with each other in business? So I guess, how do you get people to believe?
Yeah, okay, in essence, right? I have told everyone that has asked me about this book and the implications for how to improve their businesses, basically one simple thing, which is, if you don't understand what people's present beliefs and desires are, and if you can't tease out in your mind that they desire what you have, you are absolutely wasting your time talking to them. You're wasting your time marketing to them, selling to them. You've got to find people who desire what you're offering and connect with those people, because then that makes that whole trip, that conversation, valuable. Because people are going to converse with you because they have this idea, this thought, that what you have is going to improve their lives and give them what they want. So desire is the thing to focus on. Once you can figure desire out, then you've won. You've won that game.
So related to that, then, how do people's beliefs affect their actions?
Okay, so it sounds really almost simplistic, but it's really simple. So our desires condition what our perceptions latch onto. Then our perceptions move us through to our thinking mind, where we start digging for data in order to get what we desire, and then we take action. If we finally develop this belief, then we take action and we do that thing. If the desire is not there, no amount of information is going to help. I mean, I know people that are overweight, that smoke, that abuse drugs. I could send them books about what they're doing, and it doesn't matter because they're not driven by a desire to change. Once you find people who are driven by a desire to change, then you can help them with some information and some coaching and move them along the process so that they change their behavior. So it goes desire, belief, behavior.
Wow. Well, I'm probably a good example of that and kind of a sucker for some of these products because I was, well, we've known each other for a long time. I was like basically when my wife and I got married, I think I was like 130 pounds. So then once I got married and got a little bit older, I mean, I never exercised a day in my life until I was 40-something. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, I'm getting this gut. I better change my, belief a little bit and figure out, I can't get away with not exercising. And of course, being the, information obsessed person that I am, I went right to P90X, which is way too hard for somebody that's never exercised. But I've gone back to them again and again and said, like, okay, this is the way. I believe this. This is the, okay, I can't handle P90X. I'm going to do P90X 10 because it's only 10 minutes. So I'm a, complete consumer and sucker for that kind of stuff because.
Well, no. Then listen, here's the thing. It doesn't really matter. I mean, every year there are 1,000 different diet books on the bestseller list, right? It's not that they're a different formula. It's that certain books appeal to certain people, and if that can help you, once you have the desire, don't hand somebody a diet book that doesn't desire it, right? Unless you want to get kicked out of the house. I don't know.
And Josette's asking, can you do you have a distinction between desire and like?
Liking and desiring, yeah, those are two different things. As a matter of fact, to like something is not the same thing as wanting something. So I may walk into a museum and look at a painting and like it. That doesn't mean I want to buy it and take it home. So I can tell you that it even works the other direction. You can want something and not like it. Drug addicts want their fix. They don't really like it, you know. So it's interesting to understand the difference between those two things.
Yeah, excellent. Another question from the book. You write that people's beliefs are working assumptions and are based on preconceived notions, which we've talked about a little bit. But what kinds of challenges does this create for businesses?
Yeah. Basically a mindset shift. Because we have been led to believe, I mean, pick up any marketing book today, if you will, or communications, anything that you want. There is this construct, there's this acronym, it's AIDA, right? So you create attention, awareness, then you create interest. That interest will lead to desire, and that desire will lead to action. And the problem is it doesn't work that way anymore because of all the stimuli. So now what happens is you get somebody's attention, you better immediately stimulate desire. Isn't that the crazy thing? In other words, we have to believe that something is worth investigating before we have any information that supports it. That's the crazy thing. We have to see something and say, I think I might be interested in that, without even having information to tell us that you might be interested. So instead of dumping information on people, look at the aesthetics, look at the look and the feel and simple, powerful messages so that people say, I think I might want that. Then you can dig a little deeper into what is it. Look at Apple, right? They run billboards that don't say a thing, just somebody with earbuds, you look at it and you say, any sane marketer in the world, and that's why they're the most, valuable company in the world, because they're not sane. Any sane marketer in the world would say, oh my God, we have to at least put up there how many gigabytes or what the name of the thing is, or how much it is, or something. We can't just have somebody dancing with earbuds. But what they're trying to do is stimulate desire so that they have 1,000 people standing in line for the iPhone 6 without even really understanding what the thing is.
Right. Yeah. I don't know why I want it, but I want it.
See, that's the genius of it. I don't really know why I want it. Let me go get in line. When I get in there, I will rationalize why I want it.
Yeah. Or, everybody else is buying it, so if there's a line, it must be good.
That's another way. That's another way of getting people to desire things, is because we want to do what other people do. All right. I mean, I laugh with friends sometime, and I say, "Did you ever wonder who decided to jam a lime down into the neck of a beer bottle? I mean, who was somebody just sitting there saying, 'I know how we'll sell this. Let's jam a lime down in there,' right? No, but what happens is you're sitting there drinking your old boring beer, and you look to the left, and some guy's got a lime jammed down in his, and you wonder, what is that? That's interesting. I might like that." See, so they're stimulating your perceptions, getting you curious. That is the key to this.
It's like social proof too, because I know, like, it's funny, like I've even been on these kinds of webinars where somebody's selling something, which we're not doing now, but at the end, and like, "Oh, Mary from Poughkeepsie, thanks, welcome aboard. She's our newest," and there's all the things going on. They're getting other people. I don't know if they really bought it or not, but they're leading people to believe they have.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Excellent. Kevin has a question. What would you say are the key elements that transform our desires and beliefs into taking the necessary actions that produce results? Do you want me to repeat that?
No, that's a very interesting question, and I would say that it really depends on the amount of risk involved in taking that action. So if you said to me, "So what are the key elements, Tom, in converting somebody's current behavior through their desires and beliefs into a new behavior," and that behavior is buying a new brand of wine. So it's fairly low risk, right? So I would say, okay, what we need to do is we need to understand what the guy's present desires and beliefs are. We have to then stimulate those desires and beliefs through the label, through the pricing, right? All of these signals that say to him, this is the right bottle of wine for you. Through social proof, look at the reviews we have from these, connoisseurs of wine, all of those little things. And then if we fulfill his desire, which maybe he's buying it as a gift, if we fulfill that desire, he'll grab it and pick it up. Now, if you say to me, how do we take somebody whose present beliefs and desires are X, but we want to transform them such that they leave their corporate job and go out on their own as an entrepreneur? Man, that is a whole different thing now, right? Because now you've got people that are comfortable with some type of lifestyle that's supported by that check that they're receiving every week from their current job. And you're saying, we're going to go out here. You may lose all of that stuff back there on the other side of the bridge as you're moving to your new way of living, your new desire. So to move people that way, that vision of the future has to tap into their identity in a big, big way. You have to make them somehow feel comfortable that, you're not going to live in a box. That's not going to happen. Don't worry about it. And you have to show them signs of progress. Oh, it's week one's gone by. Look, we've already got X amount going on here. So you're going to make it. You're going to get there. It's kind of like, your kids are into sports. That's what great coaches do to get athletes perform at high levels, right? They help them train. They show them that they can do it. They give them stats to show improvement. They work on their techniques and fundamentals. So it's really going from comfort to some vision of the future of an improved life, happier, wealthier, healthier life. But how scary that trip is depends on how comfortable you are now and how risky that trip looks like.
Right.
So Did I ask you if I answered it? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll ask Kevin. But yeah, so with the wine example, it's it is okay. Well, it's not a big investment, but it's like if you're buying a $3,000 refrigerator or something, suddenly there's a little bit more thought that has to go into it. I mean, I brought home a bottle of Coppola wine recently. My wife's like, "Why did you get that?" I'm like, "Because he directed The Godfather."
There you go.
It has nothing to do with wine, but.
See what I mean? So listen, I think that's the whole point about understanding people's desires and beliefs. We don't make rational decisions. We're strange creatures. We buy wine because the guy who directed a movie made the wine. I mean, this is just who we are. But if we understood that, then we know how to get somebody to buy that wine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So another question on the TEDx talk that you did in Cambridge. You highlighted 3 universal drivers that move people: aesthetics, control, and identity. So could you talk about those in the context of business, like what us folks do?
Yeah, okay. So again, I don't believe people are moved by information. I think we're more like, we're animals, we're not computers. So we're out in the environment, moving quickly through the environment to try to optimize what we're doing, get done, satisfice our needs, not necessarily optimize our needs.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're out there, our perceptions are leading the way for us. What we see, what we read, what we feel. So aesthetics is the look, the feel. Does it turn me on? Does it make me curious? Does it feel good? Do I like it? Those types of things. That's going to drive whether or not we even dig any deeper into it, right? I have to at least be drawn into it. If I look at a website and I say, oh man, they're not talking to me. Mm-hmm. I don't know who these people are, but this is not my language. This is not my look and feel, right? I was talking to somebody earlier on an interview, and he says that he gets attracted to websites for hotels that have a certain aesthetic look to them, and then he just books it. He knows that that's the kind of hotel that he wants.
Yeah.
So to know what your audience desires and feels from an aesthetic point of view, all right, you create that first. Then the question becomes, once you give them information to help rationalize those feelings, do you give them any kind of sense of control? A sense of control is very, very powerful. The minute we think somebody is pulling us along someplace, right? I mean, all you do is walk into an auto dealership. Mm-hmm. Holy cow, here they come, right? As soon as you feel that somebody's trying to pull you someplace, you let go. You're not going to go along. I mean, for a very recent, cogent example, just last week, Apple pushed the new U2 album down to everybody's playlist.
Yeah.
They didn't ask them if they wanted it. That pissed everybody off. They had to go take it back. So nobody wants things like they want to believe they're in control. You have a charity, let people decide who the money goes to. Don't just say give us the money and we'll go distribute it out. Ask them, do you want it to go to this type of people, these type of people? Give them some type of control over the process. I remember that one of the greatest things I saw was there was this Midwest chain of gasoline retail outlets, and they had an opt-in cell phone program where if you opted in and gave them your phone number, they would send you a text 2 hours before the gas prices were going to go up so you could come fill your car. So they give you this feeling that, okay, I got some control now, and they're giving it to me. Yeah. And then the final one is identity. Who am I? Who am I trying to become? Do I see myself reflected in what these folks do? Do I see my identity being enhanced by what these folks do and how they speak to me? And if you get all 3 of those things packaged together, now you've created a strong belief.
Right. In the TED Talk, you said, who we think we are is why we do what we do.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That is the most puzzling thing, because as we're moving through life, we don't think about the decisions that we're making and then say, oh, this is because of who I think I am. In other words, when we're looking at a menu and we really want this thing, it's $10.99, but there's this other thing for $6.99. It has nothing to do with the $4. Mm-hmm. It has to do with who we believe we are. Maybe we were raised by Depression-era parents who always told us, you don't pay the $10.99 if you can get something for $6.99. So we make these decisions just unconsciously, but they come from someplace inside of us that says, here's who you are, this is what you should be doing. And we just do it, like autopilot.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the U2 Apple example, how they, we're going to basically gift this to everybody. It's like, no, 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 wait, I didn't ask for that. But if they had given it to, you know, half the people, or the people that just had the iPhone 5, the iPhone 4 people would have gone crazy and said, why didn't we get that?
Why didn't I get it? Exactly right. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I don't know how much of the sheep mentality there is there, but but that social proof stuff is pretty powerful. It's like, wait a minute, he has it. How come I don't have it?
Yeah, no, we definitely like to do what other people do. I mean, look how we dress. You know, you just stand and look at us. We all dress similar. Maybe it's slightly different colors and things, but we're not all dressing crazy different. We're all trying to stay in the norm, whatever we think that norm is.
I know. I have to do a speech, as you know, in San Francisco for this Creative Live thing, and I literally went on and watched what people were wearing to see.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to wear there. So.
Well, Lou, it's creative, so you have to wear
black
jacket, a black shirt, you know.
Of course. Yeah. Let me see if there are any other questions before we wrap things up here. Again, the book is, I feel like, you know, Johnny Carson or Fallon or something. The book is The Business of Belief. No, it is a great read. It'll make you think. It'll make you smarter, as we say in Boston. Let me just go into the chat here and see if there's anything else. Anything else you want to add, Tom, before we start to wrap things up?
No, listen, this has been great. You know, this is not an easy concept to hold in your mind. It really isn't, because your mind pulls you back to your old way of thinking for some reason. It's just conditioned to do that.
Yeah.
But if you can hold this in your mind, especially when you're thinking about your prospects and your clients and anyone in your life that you're interested in helping move to a new place, with, you know, change their behavior, buy your product, you know, because you know that you can add value to their lives. And if you think of that process through this lens of belief, through the lens of perceptions driving our feeling mind then letting go and giving it to our thinking mind, which is trying to rationalize all this, and then an experience moving us to belief. If you think of it that way, it'll really, really impact your business in a really major way.
And same with relationships. I mean, I guess it's any kind of persuasion. You know, if I can get my 16-year-old twins to believe a certain thing, because I know it's, you know, I think it's what's best for them. You know, I guess it'll work the same with relationships as it would in business.
Works. Listen, yeah. All you have to do is say, what do they really desire, and how do I help them get that, and get that behavior that I hope to get out of this. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting.
You know, it's all about. Yeah, it's all about, listen, emotion. It's about our feelings, because emotion, the root of the word emotion, means to move. Emotions are what move us.
Right.
Thoughts don't, you know, this understanding, thinking mind, it's not the mover. It's kind of like the guy who looks at everything after you decide to do it and says, okay, those plans look good, go ahead. But he's not the guy deciding to go ahead, build the house. He's the guy who's looking at the plans later and saying, yeah, it looks fine. Go ahead, go do it. You know?
I guess that explains why my son, who's, you know, doing, as you know, baseball, and he's starting to do weight training and things like that, we're driving an hour and a half each way and paying probably twice as much as the other sports place, because we're going to the training facility that Kevin Euclid uses. I'm like, okay, fine.
There you go.
You know?
There you go. Yeah, exactly. So listen, so everyone will do uncomfortable things, like drive, you know, an hour each way, whatever, if they think that's going to take them to that place they want to be, or give them that thing that they want. The stronger that desire is, the more willing they are to suffer, you know, the inconveniences, or to spend time researching. I'll bet he's researching all the time about how to improve his hitting and everything, you know?
Amazing. Awesome. The Business of Belief. Good job on this one, Tom.
Thank you.
Always great to talk to you, and thank you for being here. Let me just... Oh, one other question from Josette.
Great.
What expands desire?
What expands desire? I like that. That's a very good one. Yeah, so I've been asked similar questions, but they've been framed like this. Can you create desire? Isn't that what advertising does?
Right.
Create desire. And it's not true. What you can do is you can take latent desires and bring them to life, right? So maybe people didn't desire the iPhone, You know, Steve Jobs says people don't know what they want, right? You have to go give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
But the way he packaged it, I mean, remember, these guys they do hundreds of prototypes on just the boxes
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that that feeling of specialness and, you know, it's like jewelry and, you know, all that is conveyed. So you can't really take somebody that has no desire and give them desire, but you can take people who have latent desire and turn them on, primarily with a vision, I mean a really clear, powerful picture of what that future state looks like. And then all the supporting signals along the way that says, that's real. That's the place for me to go. That's the thing for me to get. And then when they get there, you give them that elegant experience that rounds it all out. And before you know it, you got thousands of people standing in line to get the iPhone 6.
Exactly. Oh, man. So, yeah, we could learn a lot from that example, that's for sure. Even if it bends. I mean, so it bends.
Yeah, it's bending a little, whatever. What did Steve Jobs say when the antenna? Move your hand. Hold it somewhere else.
Yeah. Excellent. I think that wraps it up for questions. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We appreciate your time. Tom, thank you for chatting with us and sharing your thoughts and your book. You can get it where? Amazon? Just about
Amazon's the best place to get it. Yeah, it's there. It's there, and it's on Kindle. And I think at this point, I think it's less than the cost of a pizza. So,
so go grab it. Enjoy. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you all next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye for now.